We know this era of NASCAR is all about being bold and innovative, and one of the things that was mentioned in that bold and innovative statement is the future on how cars are being run. Talking about electric cars. Now, NASCAR and electric, those two words do not go together if you ask NASCAR fans. We know NASCAR will be going hybrid in the very near future, but electric cars had never been brought up. It had been mentioned but never been taken seriously until now. A leaked document, thanks to Jerry Jordan from Kicking the Tires, posted this article talking about how NASCAR is going to be introducing a demonstration of an electric vehicle NASCAR race in next year's running of the Clash at the Coliseum. We're going to go over the entire article and what this means for the future of the sport, so let's begin. Screenshots of a document leaked to an online chat forum and obtained by Kicking the Tires purportedly shows NASCAR's intention to debut a prototype electric vehicle ahead of the 2023 Busch Clash at the Coliseum, and then morph that prototype into a racing series at 6 racing venues likely aligned with Cup Series events. NASCAR did not address the document specifically, which was provided to them, nor confirm if it was theirs. However, the following statement was provided to Kicking the Tires, quote, "As we have mentioned in the past, we are exploring the potential for an EV, electric vehicle, demonstration series. We are currently working with our OEM partners and race teams as the program progresses." Additionally, several sources have confirmed that NASCAR is planning and developing in the early stages for an electric vehicle implementation. Now, and that's the thing, this has been going on for quite some time. For a few years now, NASCAR has been looking into an exhibition series regarding electric vehicles. This has been something that had been reported a couple of years ago by Adam Stern, and very high profiled NASCAR reporter. So this is nothing new. The only thing that we didn't know was how far those stages were into planning creating a NASCAR electric vehicle or having a series regarding electric vehicle cars. But NASCAR did mention it is something that all the OEM partners and potential new OEM partners are very interested in looking. The document also lays out a set of goals, how the events would be run, and how the cars would be run for NASCAR to be able to take on this electric vehicle implementation. NASCAR would take the best practices that it has learned from other electric vehicle racing series and incorporate those into the new program. Based on information contained in the document in question, it is presumed that some of those practices could come from the FIA-approved Formula E and electric production car racing series, which has seen growing success since being introduced. Because electric engines make little sound, NASCAR would also evaluate options for sound and look to OEMs for input. Finally, NASCAR would own or license all intellectual property involving the new electric vehicle racing series. And that's another thing. I think when you think of NASCAR, or when you think of just electric vehicles in general, the main criticism about them is the no noise. If you watch a Formula E race, there's no noise, or at least it sounds like that's how little it sounds. I mean, it produces very little sound, which we know if any racing fan, or really even any fan in general, if you go to a car race, one thing you would like to hear is the sound of the engines, the roar of the engines. Especially the roar of a NASCAR car is the life and blood of the sport. That is what resonates with millions of NASCAR fans around the world, is that engine noise. And if you lose that, well, then you lose really the core part of the sport, a very critical core part of the sport. So the fact that NASCAR recognizes this and they're looking at OEMs to figure out ways to bring back that sound, I think that's really, really encouraging to know that if NASCAR is going to go electric, they're going to do this right. Now, as I mentioned, the document brought out 3 different images about NASCAR and how the demonstration series involving the vehicle, the goals, and the events. Let's read them out to you. So first off, the vehicle. The vehicle will be a next-gen chassis with a modified front and rear clips to package powertrain and batteries, retain suspension and brakes. The current Cup homologated bodies investigate SVUs and CVU bodies, which are up to the decision to the OEMs, involve a common electric vehicle powertrains in phase 1. It will be an all-wheel drive, 900 voltage max battery with 3 ultra-high horsepower, about less than 1,000 horsepower. The vehicle will establish safety's best practices from other electric series and modify per NASCAR specs. And again, the most important part, evaluate options for sound from natural to OEM specific, and NASCAR owns or has perpetual license to all intellectual properties. And that's another thing I think we need to mention now is either a natural sound or OEM specific. To me, that sounds like a Chevy will have a Chevy type of sound. A Ford will have a Ford type of sound. Toyota has their own sound. Let's say other electric or other series come in like BMW or Mercedes. I'm just throwing out names. They have their own unique sound, which I think will be very cool to have each car have their own unique sound instead of all just sounding the same. Now let's talk about the event. Now the event of it, like I mentioned, a demo race is scheduled to take place in the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum in 2023. It'll be a demonstration target featuring a prototype version of an electric vehicle NASCAR car. However, the launch target for what I presume to be an actual racing series in the third quarter of 2023. But that's about as vague as you can get. Don't know exactly where in the timeline it would be. But as I mentioned earlier in the article, it would be 6 races, likely aligned with the Cup Series. It'll be 2 30-minute races per weekend, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. 12 vehicles in total, 3 to 4 cars per OEM, and lap time targets equivalent to the next-gen ICE platform. No battery swaps or charging. Evaluate implementation in Phase 2. And there'll be non-competitive pit stops for tires or to fix mechanical/crash damage. And I think it's a great idea to show it off in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is a type of state where it's very driven in terms of things to better the economy. And especially when you take a look at how many people in California use electric cars. In fact, California is number 1 in the amount of electric cars used in their state, over 23%. So when you're going to a market, you're going to a place like Los Angeles that's heavily used to or heavily involved in electric cars or some type of electrification with cars, saying, hey, here's a new prototype version of what we're trying to do with NASCAR, an electric series that we're trying to introduce. What do y'all think about it? I think that's a great way to introduce it to a crowd that is used to electric cars and would like to see an electric racing series maybe in the future. So I think it's a great idea for NASCAR to show off what a NASCAR electric car could look like in the Coliseum. And of course, with electric racing, is still very, very new. We still I think having a 30-minute race, I think that's a good amount of time, but it also doesn't necessarily state where the races are. It says 6 venues. Okay, well, where are those venues going to be? More than likely, I think they're going to be on tracks 1 mile or shorter. So maybe a track like Phoenix, maybe even Darlington. I think Darlington is 1.3 mile. But I suggest around those areas or shorter tracks like Martinsville, Richmond, and Bristol. I don't see them going on the big tracks like at Michigan or Fontana. I think those are way too big and too big of a task for electric cars at the moment. But very interested in seeing, because it says that the lap time targets equivalent to the next-gen ICE platform, the internal combustion engine platform. And it says less than 1,000 horsepower. Now that could be 950 horsepower, 900 horsepower. We do know electric cars are capable of handling a lot more power for a lot less. So I'm very interested into knowing the full specifications of what the electric car would provide for those 6 races. And finally, the goal. What is the goal of NASCAR doing this? Again, there's an image for that too. To introduce NASCAR fans to full electric performance vehicles to evaluate entertainment, engagement, acceptance, and interest. Demonstrate and focus on the high performance capability of electric vehicles. Implement battery electric vehicle racing in NASCAR that is physically responsible to the participating teams and OEMs. Use learnings from the 2023-24 exhibition series to determine best path forward in national series for 2025. And again, that's the big thing I think we all need to mention, is that the ICE engines, the internal combustion engines, they're on their way out. They're gonna go. All right, y'all can stick to the past, try and hang on to that as much as you can. Y'all only got a couple of years with that engine. NASCAR is going hybrid. That's a fact. But the future of the sport, who knows? Maybe 10, 15 years down the line, could it go electric? Maybe. I mean, depending on where the car market is. If the car market is leaning towards electric cars and more people are only buying electric cars, and NASCAR's premise is to represent the cars on the road, then they're going to have to go electric. So to NASCAR preparing for this already, I think they're maybe ahead of the curve with this one. For NASCAR to be preparing for this already is a very, very good sign. And it's also, they're trying it out. I think that's one thing also people need to understand. It's a demonstration. This hey, this is just a test. Hey, this is something we're trying out. What do you think of it? And if the sound, let's say if it keeps that iconic NASCAR sound, if they're able to do that, I don't see what the issue is then. I really don't see the issue with that. Maybe because I'm young and I'm for more cleaner alternate ways of driving. But as long as y'all keep the sound, I'm cool with it. Me personally. But I think this is a great way for NASCAR to test out what the future looks like without going all in. They're going all in with this, but in a very safe way. They're not just automatically next year, oh, we're going to do hybrids with the Cup cars and have really no experience with this. Testing it out with electrification cars, with having small segments, testing it out. What does it look like? How does it sound like? How are we moving forward with this? And how do we implement this for NASCAR's future? I think is a great way of looking at it, and I love the direction NASCAR is going with this. They're playing it safe because they want to make sure they get this right, because this is a huge, huge step forward for the sport. If they can get electric racing right, basically do something that caters to the younger crowd, being electric, being safer, and a cleaner version of the sport, and also still cater to the diehard NASCAR fans that love that iconic sound. So they can get both of that. NASCAR is going to be really set for the future. So I'm really excited to see where they take this. And of course, more updates are going to come out later in the weeks. Maybe when we get into the off season where we really start to get the bits and details on what NASCAR is going to be trying for with this electric racing exhibition series. But I'm all for it. I really enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to see what they can do with it. And yeah, I can't wait to see what they put out in the Clash in 2023. But that is it for this video. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Tell me what your thoughts in the comment section down below on NASCAR doing this with electric racing vehicles. What are your thoughts on it? Do you like that they're doing this? Do you not? I'm very interested in knowing your thoughts on this, because I feel like the more younger crowd, and I don't want to generalize to say everyone's like this, but when I look at the comments when this article was posted on social media, a lot of the younger crowd was more for it, and a bit of the older crowd was against it. But I'm really curious to see what are your thoughts on this. Again, it's a demonstration, just an idea to test it out. But again, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, my name is Jet from MDK. See you next time.